Compound interest is when you incrementally put in money into something that generates you income on the capital you put in, and on the income, and on the capital, and on the income, and on the capital. It keeps snowballing into creating wealth.
Patrick, finally, we've made it. Welcome to the UnbrandMe Podcast.
Thanks, Pete.
The podcast that my colleagues and I at Brand WGN have created to search the lives, the journeys of brand builders, entrepreneurs, to find out what in their personal lives has impacted them most to build the brands that today they're known for. And it's a really interesting journey we've been on with a number of our guests. They've shared a lot with us. I can't wait to unpack, what's behind the Finance for You, the Patrick Debattista story. We also believe that, it's better people that make better brands, and better brands will make a better world. The brand you're building, the way you're connecting with your audience, the way you're connecting with your customers, with your clients, is truly shaping the world into a better place. So, Patrick, welcome.
Thanks, Pete.
Pat, if you don't mind me calling you Pat, you've left the world of corporate consulting to focus your energy on financial coaching, which to most people sounds yawn. Excuse me. But let's face it. Both on a personal and on a business level is what you're doing. You're a lecturer at University of Malta, at MCOST, and some various other schools at both master's degree and ACCA levels. Whoa. You founded Finance for You, a community built to democratize financial knowledge for everyone and help people manage their finances. But beyond all that, the dreaded question, who the hell is Patrick?
Thanks for the kind intro first, Pete. Who is Patrick? Well, Patrick is somebody who doesn't like to talk about himself, but I'll go ahead anyway. I'm a contrarian at heart, an underdog, and a bit of a paradox, I suppose. So I was born and raised in a system where things were done in a certain way, and you were boxed in, and you stayed in this box. So you went to school, got good grades, became an accountant, yawn, got married, got a nice job, had kids, bought a house, whatever, in whatever order, and died. And I somehow found this formula, found this way, or stumbled upon this way to extricate myself from this system and to, if you like, look from outside, look inside.
And I want
exactly, and I want to change, or to help change the system from the outside in. It's not easy, of course, when you go through this sort of journey of doing things the hard way. So given I'm my own worst self-critic, I always beat myself up over having to do things the hard way always. So always choosing the hardest exams, the hardest jobs, the longest journey, and there's a saying, I forgot who said it, but it's so true. It's so symptomatic that the weight doesn't get any lighter, but in the end, your back does get stronger.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's hard taking this path on your own when sort of your peers are CFOs, partners, politicians, sort of at the peak of their careers. But it was the right move to make because I felt that the purpose that I was building, if you like, was not really met 100% in my corporate job. So it's almost as if the corporate ladder I was climbing was leaning against the wrong wall.
Right. And taking you further away from your purpose. I'm going to jump off script for a second, though, because you said something which really impacted me. And you talked about the system. You talked about the way, we're all stuck in this kind of rat race, if you wish. But is it the system that's broken, or is it the lack of people trying to fix the system, or people have just become too comfortable and lazy with that, which is why maybe people like you who can maybe get their head up above the water and see over, what is it, you think?
It's all of the above. It's all of the above. We tend to come up with solutions, in my humble opinion, to, in my case, financial education and financial knowledge, which are perhaps technical, logistical, governance, if you like. But we tend to forget the importance, in my view, of grassroots financial education. So if you look at, for example, the latest, well, I'll give you some statistics.
Go for it.
The latest OECD survey on financial literacy, where we have Malta's population, our financial knowledge is poorer than the OECD plus average, countries like Greece, Italy, etc., in the Mediterranean. Another statistic, only around 20% of the population in Malta understand the concept of time value of money and inflation.
How many? 20%?
Only around 20%, 21, 22. And that's lower than countries like Romania, Indonesia, Peru, with all respect to these countries, right?
So considering if you're linking the GDP of the country at the moment and the growth that the country has gone through versus the actual financial knowledge and who actually owns that financial knowledge, that is where the big gap remains. And so we're not keeping up with that. So effectively we're sitting on more cash today, but we're not without any idea of what to do with it, which inevitably is going to hit a brick wall at some point in time.
1,000%. So we're sitting on, last I checked, and it is around this ballpark, 25 billion or so deposits in our financial system, bank deposits. But another statistic, of all the people in Malta who have or who own retirement, financial investing products, saving products, the vast majority don't understand the meaning of compound interest. So, okay, saving is good. Saving is putting money to bed, but it's investing that's putting money to work.
Yeah,
and that's what we should work on.
You want your money to be sleeping. You want your money to be working for you.
While you sleep.
Of course. I'm not going to jump into the compounding stuff now. I think it's very important and we will tap onto it, I'm sure, so you'll get your fix and you'll be able to share your knowledge. But
Thank you.
I really want to focus on your purpose, to democratize financial knowledge for everyone. Why is that important? Obviously, the facts that you mentioned about what... I mean, we're talking about people. It's fine to focus on the statistics, but each and every one of those percentage points represent people. Why is it important for you, Patrick?
So besides the workshops that I give to all cross-sections of society where I hear the real stories beyond these numbers, right? Because as you rightly say, it's not about the numbers. It's the people behind those numbers that you get to meet every single day. It started from way back in my childhood when I would say, we were a typical 1990s family, would classify as normal or average, working our way up the middle class, until one fine day we hit a financial brick wall. So it's as if from one day to the next, everything fell apart, right? And my abiding memory of that time was my mother having to work 3 jobs to, keep food on the table, especially in those early times. And sort of me and my brother trying to figure it all out. It was the first...
How old were you?
I was around 11, I believe. And
that's very young to be dealing with that harsh reality.
Yeah, and 1st of November, I believe, 1999 it was, where I had to change schools from one day to the next, which, with hindsight, was the best thing that could have happened to me. But
at 11, that must be a very hard thing to do, to change your circle of friends, to change your teachers, to change the culture that you're in, to change the rhythm of your day. And this is pre-mobile phones, effectively, so you weren't connecting with your old friends on social media.
Yeah, it was a big trauma. It was a formative experience for me because seeing my mom struggle like that and knowing now with hindsight that I've worked with some of the brightest minds in the world, I think, in Malta, Spain, London as well. I'm yet to meet someone who is so good with money, who managed to make ends meet in such a way that my mom did in those early days. So my question is, or my observation is, they say you can't live in abundance, right, with impoverished thoughts, with a growth mindset. So my upbringing was, yes, you have to make ends meet. You have to work hard to make ends meet. But with a scarcity mindset. So that mindset took a very long time to shake off. Long number of years.
Talking about that scarcity mindset, what does that refer to specifically?
So the world is a bad place. You need to take the first job that comes, come what may.
Okay.
Because you might not be able to deal with what happens tomorrow, right? And this took me to my first job, actually. I was 15.
This is the sunbed job?
This is the sunbed job, which might sound glamorous, actually, but it really wasn't. And that was probably the biggest youthful learning experience that I could have had, because we would carry umbrellas. We would, go round tables, the sun during the day. And we'd end the day by cleaning the toilets, which, no disrespect, it's fine, But I was so miserable doing that job. It's so not for me that I took that as motivation to go back to school and study the hell out of those books. That experience made me.
So pre-sunbed job, who was Patrick? Were you not into your studies, or?
It was quite a journey. And my closest friends would tell you that 13, 14, 15, I took a bit of a turn, for the worst. Started experimenting, I started dabbling, and it wasn't the best academically throughout those couple of years. In fact, I failed my exams. I was pretty bad. But one day, all you need is just a switch to flip.
The tipping point.
Just a tipping point. And when the switch flips, then you need to act.
Yeah.
So I woke up one day, hungover, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to roll up my sleeves, work, and just go for the goals that I want to achieve, because the world isn't a big, bad place. There are opportunities, there are possibilities. And from then on, it's like from one day to the next, I locked myself up in my room, started studying, and really went for the opportunities that were afforded to me, but also with the scarcity mindset. So it doesn't have to be black or white.
Yeah.
You don't have to go full throttle working into something because the world is a bad place and you're a survivor mindset. There's no lion coming to chase you, like there was 100,000 years ago.
Yeah, of course. And that's changed our stresses about as well. Doesn't mean that the stress has gone. I think the world is probably in a very stressed out place. Okay, but so for finance for you, for Patrick, what does success look like? So how do you know that when will you know that your job here is done? Yeah,
so my mission is to provide access to financial knowledge to everyone, whether you're young or old, rich or poor.
Okay, but financial knowledge is a very, very big term. What does that include? Managing your accounts, running your statements properly, dealing with your tax. What are you really specifically talking about?
It's completely true. So money is such a vast subject.
And it's a very dirty word for many people.
It is.
We still don't compare, earnings or expenditure or...
Yeah. Which is why it's one of the leading sources of divorce.
Yes?
Matrimony. Yes, if not number one, it's number two in the States. And also in Malta. So I've been around. I've worked as an accountant, starting my journey as an accountant. I've worked as a financial analyst. I took the CFA exams, which are the leading investment qualification worldwide, in my view. Did a couple of masters in finance.
A couple of masters. You talk about them like that. There are few programs that you downloaded.
Yeah, but it's...
So what are your masters in?
It is true. The first master's is in accountancy in Malta, and the second one in Spain, in financial analysis.
Okay.
But still, the point is, beyond all these qualifications and beyond all this experience, I still have not met someone who taught me how to manage my money from A to Z. So how to deal with from the ground up. Okay, here's an emergency fund. Here's a budget. Here's the next step. Here's the investing. Here's et cetera, et cetera. So this is my mission, to provide everyone with access to this, at least a basic knowledge of how to manage their money. And I believe wholeheartedly that this could lift thousands of people out of poverty and help thousands more achieve their financial goals. Why not?
Which is, of course, I mean, isn't this why we work, no? To a certain extent.
Yeah, exactly. You don't live to work, right? You work to live.
So, I mean, in this case, who are the people who are really being attracted to your purpose? Like, besides obviously everybody who follows you on TikTok and YouTube, and we're going to get into the social media in a state, who are your clients right now and why do they come to you?
Okay. So I target everyone really. So everyone has access to free financial knowledge on my social media because that is my core purpose. But the main segment of society that seems to be willing to reach out to me are middle income earners, middle to high income earners who don't have anywhere else to go because they might be ashamed that, they're earning a decent salary, they're earning a high salary, but they're still living paycheck to paycheck, just like 65% of people are.
65% of people are still living paycheck to paycheck.
And I do get comments on my videos, for example, that one person in particular, and I always answer comments, I always try to answer, to engage, right? This particular person was an accountant, and she was earning around, got to know, right? That she was earning around 3,000 euros a month. And through my videos, she seemed to believe that in order to save and invest, you needed to be some millionaire. It's like, you talk as if we're all millionaires or something. But if you're earning that level of income with your personal circumstances later, okay, then you need to create a solid financial plan. You need to create some sort of plan for the future. And at the moment, there isn't that guidance, that professional guidance that could set you on the path to, yes, financial independence for these people.
And I think there is this level of circularity in what you're saying, because fundamentally, if you don't start understanding finances from a very, very young age, it takes a long time till you can catch up. And I think you feel the impact of your bad planning probably when it's a little bit too late, even though, as you say, it's never too late, no?
The best time to invest was yesterday, and the second best time is today. Just like the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. That's the Chinese proverb that is derived from, right? Because the power of compounding isn't felt today or tomorrow. This plant was a seed, and it took a long time to grow and flourish. And money is very analogous to that proverb. Those Chinese people are quite smart.
And so in that case, what we're talking about is really trying to make sure that everything that you're doing really immerses itself into the educational system and gets, both educators but also parents to really teach their kids. But obviously, when you're a parent and you're really living paycheck to paycheck, it's very, very hard to just stop and say, okay, this is how we're going to change things. So what is your process with the people that you meet? Because I think more than just the actual structures that you're going to set up and the actual advice that you're going to give, because the principles are fairly simple and you can explain them over here. I think one of the biggest things is, how do you overcome habits? How do you overcome ego? How do you become honest with yourself and talk about the problems that then you can start to deal with it? And also there is that level of human nature is always against suffering, right? We always want to make ourselves as comfortable as possible. So the as comfortable as possible in the now is spend the money today and then we'll figure out tomorrow. And I think there is that level of dissonance, if you wish, because there are a number of Chinese proverbs who also would probably say that life is short, enjoy it today.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
Okay, so I'll start with a story. Really good story that kind of sets the ball rolling. So there was this very lavish party in New York, Shelter Island, I believe it was. It was this very great Gatsby type of party organized by this billionaire, very lavish, right? And there were two authors, and they were talking, Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller. And Joseph Heller is the author of Catch-22, the novel. And Kurt Vonnegut goes to Joseph Heller, and he tells him, did you know that this billionaire in one day earned more money than you ever earned on Catch-22? And Joseph Heller goes and answers and tells him, yes, that might be true, but I have something he'll never have. Enough. And that's typically how we would start. So what is your enough? What number or range would you be happy with to live a peaceful, meaningful life with purpose, the way we do? We live a life with purpose. We don't need to retire early and sail off into the sunset, right? We're doing what we love. How much do you need, do you think you need, to get to your enough? It's a good one, right?
I think it's really clever, and I think it's really good. I've heard that story before, and it's this concept of what is enough.
Yeah.
I think is really powerful, and I think it's really important. It's interesting when you say that, because social media portrays this element, and not only social media, I think in general, the stories, we talk about billionaires, we talk about, the success looks like having a lot of cash behind your name, wealth. But it's not about that. I think fulfillment and happiness does not come from the wealth that you create, but it's actually working towards creating that wealth. But fundamentally, and I'll say this in Italian because I remember my dad used to tell me this, meglio malato e ricco che malato e povero. Exactly. Better to be sick and rich than sick and poor. Yeah. So there is that element of, there is a basic level of what enough is, and also enough plus. And I think that's interesting. Because we're talking about social media, I'm going to just dive back into the social media. Social media has played an extremely important part of building up your brand and also building up your popularity. When was the moment you decided to become a content creator or content entrepreneur?
I think it's been 20 years in the making. So believe it or not, I'm a private person. I'm what you would call, and I hate labels. Actually, I'm more of a verb than a noun if I had to describe myself.
Okay.
But let's call it extroverted introvert.
Okay.
Right. Luckily, amidst my corporate job, my corporate roles, I went very early into lecturing. So I started teaching people. And when you teach something, you get to learn it twice. And I used to see, I teach the content and people engage and they participate. And my peers would be like, shit, this generation is so distracted. I never get their engagement. They never pay attention. That was far from my reality. I went there. I felt like a rock star, this youth. I want to transmit, all that I know, and I want to learn from them as well. So it was a two-way thing. And that gave me the motivation to think, okay, hang on a sec. What if I gave snippets of what I give to my students to the whole world? And that is what triggered Finance for You, or Patrick Debattista, call it what you wish. It was really and truly, it was an accumulation of moments that happens in an instant, right? So I was in Croatia on holiday, one of my few holidays, and I thought, this is it. I'm going to go and I'm going to spread the word. And you're better than me on social media and on the marketing side. But
I'm not sure. You've got many more followers, I think, than I do.
Well, I felt there was a generational, and there is a generational clash. And in no place is it better reflected than on social media. I'll give you an example. So on one hand, we'd have my students, people, even members of my team or employees would go on LinkedIn and they would find a polished version of what could be a utopian reality, your dream job, you're this, you're that, also idyllic, right? And that's one extreme and one generational push outcome. And then you had the other extreme, TikTok, the land of the get-rich-quick scheme. Right. So I thought there was nobody speaking to the middle ground of people who want good, qualified professional, financial knowledge that's spoken by a human being with no jargon, like a human being. And I thought TikTok was the most urgent platform to address because of all that's happening there and all the questionable advice that's being given and lack of. So I started there, and I had, if you look at my earlier content, it's pretty shit. I mean, I had a random hodgepodge of different types of content. I failed fast, but I failed forward. So I kept going until I found, the formula in one video that went viral that I was never going to shoot.
Yeah, you spoke to me about that. Tell me a bit more tell the audience a bit more about this video that you didn't even want to shoot. You shot, and all of a sudden that was the one that really took you to places, right? How many views did you get on this video?
It's got almost 300K now.
That's unbelievable. Fantastic. Well done, Patrick. Tell us a bit about this video. So what's in it? Why should people watch it?
In reality, it's not much, but the backstory behind it was a really bad day at the office, literally. I was tired, so I went to grab a pizza, literally, and I'm like, okay, I'm really tired. I'm going home now. And something in me said, all right, if you don't show up today, then there won't be a video today, or there won't be a video tomorrow. If there won't be a video tomorrow, then it becomes a bad habit. And, the story about bad habits that compound like interest. So I don't want to make it a bad habit. So I'm like, okay, I had these tips, things I wish I knew in my 20s, literally me walking my dog and giving tips to people that I wish I knew in my 20s. And I literally wish I knew this, because had I known this, I would be much materially richer, right? And we shot it and it blew up. It blew up. So the most random things, the videos that you spend 6 hours, 8 hours editing and scripting and this, get nowhere near the views that something that was so spontaneous and creative got. And that's the message from the video.
So what are the top 2 things you wish you did in your 20s?
Good one. So spend on experiences rather than things.
Okay.
Pretty rudimentary.
Again, not necessarily a financial... Okay.
No, but the financial one would probably be pay yourself first by price cost averaging small amounts every single month. And this is something that
Okay, stop. Pay yourself first. That seems to be your tagline. Or rather, I think you say it's maybe only half as much as the word compound interest, or the words compound interest. What does it mean to pay yourself first, and why is it important?
Okay. So, ceteris paribus, you're a salaried employee. Okay, let's say no dependents, just a partner, plain vanilla, no other commitments. You get your salary. Let's say it's 1,000 euros to keep the figures round. And you use a budgeting rule known as the 50, 30, 20 rule.
Okay.
Now let's flip it and make it a 20, 30, 50 rule. Okay. So 20 means get the 1,000 euros, take 20% of it, or 10, or whatever the figure is, or some figure, okay? You receive your salary and save it and or invest it. Stash it away for your future self. Why? Because we all pay Malta. We all pay the grocer. We all pay, I don't know, whoever.
The taxman?
Taxman especially,
Not everyone pays the taxman, actually.
No, but it is
yeah. Okay.
They say it's a certainty, like death, but not for everyone. but yeah, pay yourself first means why shouldn't I pay myself in the same way that I pay these different third parties? Or why do I pay myself last after, spending all this money? So try and spend what is left after saving rather than save what is left after spending. And fine, you might not be able to save 20%. You might have to tap into that 20% at the end of the month, right? Because you won't make ends meet. That's okay. But you're instilling a savings and preferably investing mentality that will compound in the future. And I wish I knew this, when I was in sixth form, right? Imagine instead of going to Rock Cafe or Coconut, or Havana, let's be a bit more.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Of course. Spending all that money on drinks or food when we could have afforded, putting some money away, even if it's a little.
Even if it's just 20 euros a month.
Exactly. I've got some statistics as well. I don't know them by heart, but I almost...
Yeah, what are those stats?
So imagine.
Is this about the eighth wonder of the world? So talk to me about the eighth wonder of the world, if that's what this is coming to.
Apparently, Albert Einstein said, allegedly, that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And this is, nowhere is it stated that he said this. But it's become a popular
But
myth.
let's assume it's this urban myth and urban legend, and let's assume that's it. So what is compound interest, and why is it the eighth wonder of the world? Yeah. And then you can bring your stats to the table.
Okay. So compound interest is when you incrementally put in money into something that generates you income on the capital you put in, and on the income, and on the capital, and on the income, and on the capital. It keeps snowballing into creating wealth. But what most people don't understand is that get rich quick scheme doesn't exist. Get rich quick doesn't exist. But get rich slow does. And get rich slow is compounding. If you look at a compound interest curve, right, where you see your wealth that's increasing by a certain amount, you'll find, depending on the interest rate, the first 5 years, first 10 years, you'll find, let's say, negligible results. But then, after the 10th year, after the 15th year, the 20th year, 30th year, you'll find it growing exponentially, which means growing by a lot, and a lot, and a lot, and a lot. So that is the power of compounding, because let's imagine now I'll go into the figures, right? For 30 years, if you didn't save any money, right? Imagine you didn't, let's say you didn't invest.
Okay.
Right? If you want to become a millionaire, there's this tagline. Everyone wants to become a millionaire, right?
It's not going to take you very far, a million today, but...
Exactly. Let's not even include inflation.
You want to become a millionaire.
100%. Let's assume a millionaire in 30 years, right? If you didn't invest any money, you'd have to save every single month 2,800 euros per month for 30 years. If you invested at a 7% return, which is moderate, quite high, but moderate, okay, you'd have to save around 820 per month. Save and invest 820 per month. So from...
For 30 years.
For 30 years. From 2,800, right, saving and not investing, to investing at a linear fine, 7% per annum.
You're saving 2,000 a month.
Exactly. You're gaining 2,000 a month without doing anything, just investing and investing. At a 6% return, if 7% is too much, right? 1,000 per month, almost 1,000. And at a 5% return for 30 years, 1,200 a month. So this is the power of compounding. So we go from 2,800 per month, which is what we do and what we're happy with as a nation. We're a nation of good savers, to potentially 820 per month if we invest.
That's how long it takes to make that million of extra wealth.
Yeah, and make it work. That's why I say we're a nation of good savers. And in my workshops and in every person I meet, or many people I meet, say, my mom was really instilled in me the ability to save. That's really good. I'm so good. Yeah, pat yourself on the back. If you put 50,000 euros, for example, in the bank the last 5 years, just saving them, you'd have lost 10 to 12,000 euros in inflation alone.
You'd have lost 10 to 12,000 euros.
Exactly. Through inflation.
Yeah, because obviously, bank charges and all that as well.
Exactly. So I say that saving is putting your money to bed, right? And investing is making it work.
I'm not going to put you in a tough financial or a tough situation and ask you for financial advice over here, because I know that you're not licensed to give it, and I know that you won't. But I do want to focus on what's more true to this podcast and this conversation, which is brand, which is your personal brand. So for me, you have a very, very clear purpose, educating the world in financial education, democratizing financial education. And I think that's really true. If I had to ask you what principles, were really important to you, for me, if I had to guess today, discipline, consistency, those are two things which you keep on harping about, which are obviously true to what you do. Is there anything else which you'd say, these are really important to me?
You can't have discipline and consistency without a purpose and without inspiration. I've done that for 20 years. I've gone through the ringer. I've done the toughest exams. They were great. Okay, I've worked a corporate job. I've made rich people richer. Fantastic. Yay to me. But having someone stop you in the street saying, man, you changed my life. Well done for your videos. Thank you. There's no price to that.
Of course.
And it is that fulfillment that, hey, you may be materially changing people's lives through this, what you think is basic financial knowledge. And there's also that performative element, if you like. So I've done the hard part, I feel. I've studied and I've obtained the technical knowledge, and now it's about getting it out there in bite-sized fun bits. So finance can be fun. It is fun when you talk about numbers. And I don't understand why we use all this jargon and all these suits and hide behind a corporate veil, I call it. It's actually a legal term, the corporate veil. And I use it in humanistic elements, if you like. I want to break that barrier. And probably I would say, okay, consistency, discipline, you're right. Passion, purpose, and also being a human being. You know?
Yeah, I think that is really important. We talk a lot, and we mentioned it before the start of this podcast, about B2C and B2B, business to business, business to customer. But in reality, it's always business to people. And I think unless you can really engage with the people that you're dealing with, and you engage on a really important and very, very clear personal level where it actually, really taps into their soul, you're not forming a proper relationship and you cannot really connect in a purposeful manner. And I think that is really, really key. Patrick, putting your personal brand out there must have come at a cost. Okay, and I think in the world that we live in today, where if you want to get your message across, you have to work hard to get it across. People don't come anymore, you need to go. And you need to go through social media, through LinkedIn, through... How tough is it to build a personal brand like the one you've built? And sort of, how, what are the areas that you're struggling with?
I think the hard bit is actually gaining the technical knowledge and earning your stripes and gaining the credibility and credentials. So, for example, before I earned my CFA charter, I was the same person, right? And after, you get the 3 letters and people look at you differently. So that's one part of the brand, the gravitas that you gain over the years. I believe that's the hardest bit. The putting yourself out there didn't come too hard because I was doing the same thing I was doing over the years, teaching, right? What was probably a bit challenging was climbing the cringe mountain of social media.
And that is what most people are struggling with.
Yes.
So you yourself are calling it the cringe mountain. I mean, it's not extremely encouraging for most people there who are very scared to put out their first LinkedIn post in something which is not ChatGPT generated.
Oh my God, why?
Everyone is honored and humbled.
And thrilled.
Exactly. So is it such a cringe? I mean, once you were doing it and you got over it, was it just a mental block?
Oof. There was this one time in my corporate job where, so I was sat on my desk and there was like this weird window near my desk. And every so often I'd hear chatter from the canteen because the canteen was beside the window. Don't ask. And one time, this was probably 2 months in to my journey, I overheard my content. And then I heard people laughing.
Okay.
So my own colleagues, they didn't know I was there, or I was hearing them, and they were laughing. That felt like crap. That was really hard to take for a day. But I don't know, I really am not a very deeply emotional person, but sometimes some quotes come up, and I remember this quote. I came up with it actually, and I stuck it on my fridge, that to be exceptional, you need to be the exception. So I was the exception and I was sticking out like a sore thumb. Yes.
The uncommon amongst the uncommon.
Exactly. I was like the square peg, But I mustered the courage to keep going. And irony of ironies, these same people who don't know who they are, now they come up to me and they congratulate me for the impact I'm making.
They do say, no, the prophet is never accepted in his own village. And I think that is so true. And Malta, in reality, is just a fairly large-ish village at best.
Yes.
So I don't think it's very surprising. But I think you've inspired a number of people. And I think it's also gives a lot of strength to others to say, you know what, I need to take this step. I need to go out there and shout about my purpose, shout about what I believe in. And we're seeing it a lot that on today, you know, employees follow leaders, not just businesses. And I think for all brand owners out there, all entrepreneurs out there, if you don't have something to say, then you're worthless. You need to get out there and talk about what you believe in.
Yeah.
You know, if you were inspired enough by your own dreams to build your own brands and your own business, then you have something to go out there and shout about. What is your point of view? What is your perspective on life? People want to know people's point of view. People want to know what's behind the brand. And we talk a lot about authenticity. Authenticity is not creating a video that looks less, you know, manufactured than the other. It's about talking from the heart. It's about talking from your truth and really speaking your truth.
You know what? My business was never a business. It became a business by it not being a business. So what came first is exactly what you're talking about, the purpose. Mm-hmm. That came first. The money is a byproduct of this concept that I created. Fine, it's a massive opportunity cost. You know, my peers are CFOs. They're earning six figures. If I want to make money, I can do that, or manage someone else's money. But no, this is a cause that I think is greater than me, and it has to get out.
So if I had to ask you, what is enough for Patrick? What is enough?
I've reached, I tap into the rational always, but I have been privileged enough somehow by some stroke of fate to...
And hard work.
Yeah, there's that. I've managed to reach a level of financial independence to be able to not depend on what I do to create content. Yeah. But I can sort of flow into different roles. So I can choose the courses I want to give. I can give the workshops that I want. I can, if I want to create videos, I can collaborate with people. So this is the life that I'm living on my own terms. And no corporate job will give me this fulfillment of having someone in my workshops. Just last week, I gave a workshop to a 70 plus audience. So the average age was like 70 plus, including my own age. And then after the session, it was so beautiful to see like these old ladies just hugging me.
How sweet.
See the impact that you create, the tangible impact on these people, the material impact after what they've been through. So we know how vulnerable certain people are in society. Another example of another workshop I gave. So I normally give workshops to employees. But in this case, it was another workshop to vulnerable people. And this particular person who broke down in tears because she... was on a disability benefit. She cannot work. She has 2 dogs, and her biggest fear is that since animals aren't catered for in the healthcare system in Malta, her biggest fear is her dogs falling ill and her not being able to afford healthcare for them. So, beyond the emotional side of that session, we created a financial plan, quickly to be able to cater for that. But it's not just these people who need help. It's also employees in businesses, probably more so, because there is a gap in society.
And businesses themselves.
Correct, and businesses themselves. So personal and business finance are quite mirror-like.
Of course.
So
especially
you have
when small organizations are intertwined.
That's right. You have your own cash flow, you have your own balance sheet, Pete, right?
Yeah.
Just like a company.
Yeah. We're getting close to the end. I have 2 burning questions already. It's been 45 minutes.
Haven't even started. Wow.
If in front of you right now there was 11-year-old Patrick Debattista who's just been dealt a really hard card in his life, what would you tell little Patrick?
That the sun will rise tomorrow as well. And it will rise for everyone. Tomorrow is another day. There's we live two lives, right? Another Chinese saying, we live two lives. And the second one begins when you realize you only have one. So if there's something that comes easy to you and is difficult for others, try and go for that with your own passion. So to me, it was some sort of performative art, which I never managed to go for because of, the societal pressures that were impinged on me. Study, become an accountant, get a job, die, whatever, right? So try and combine both to build a life with a purpose that you can truly, make an impact on others. But 11-year-old Patrick won't listen to this advice. So,
So what's going to tap into him will be the sun will rise again tomorrow.
yes.
You think Patrick would listen to you at that point in time?
Patrick was a lost soul. But sometimes we need to lose ourselves to find ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't change a thing of what happened, because if I would have changed a certain element, if I would have changed, cleaning toilets at the end of the day, then probably the whole course of events would change as well.
Yeah, of course.
We wouldn't be here talking.
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and it is quite a surprise that we're already 46 minutes into the conversation. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with people out there to give them hope, especially those people who, we've talked a lot about the ceteris paribus and, if you're earning X amount of money and you have no dependents, but to those people out there, people like me who have 4 dependents or 3 dependents, plus dogs, plus education, plus, how do you deal with that? Because I know that it's very easy to start at the very beginning when you don't want to start investing. It's very easy to say, shit, I should have done that 20 years ago, but now it's a bit... What's the conversation there?
I came up with a saying on my way here,
Okay,
my drive, and it's really reflects sort of my journey and my journey with clients and people as well. So I believe you can do a lot with money, but do have a financial plan. Super important. Do have a financial plan, and it's true. It is never too late. It is never too late. Just in the same way that you've managed to create something beautiful and magnificent in business terms, you can also do it with your investments. It's never too late. But do start now, because you never know what might happen. Life might hit you in the face. Something, tragedy, an emergency might hit you. So at least try and protect your downside. Don't go and throw the kitchen sink and invest in, I don't know, Dogecoin or whatever. But at least start building towards your own financial future from the ground up.
yeah. And I think it's become easier and easier today.
Yeah, correct.
Patrick, the only reason why I originally called you up to see who the hell this Patrick was, because I happened to stumble upon one of your TikToks after you sent me a LinkedIn message, and you were wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt.
Yes.
So you instantly got kudos.
Thank you. Up the irons.
So, the soundtrack to Patrick's life. What's the song you'd pick?
Okay. I'm going to recite the first part, and I'll see if you guess it. I don't think you'll guess it. But
Damn.
I'm gonna recite
My memory is so bad. I never knew the lyrics even when I was reading them. Let alone.
Really? You're a singer?
Well, I was.
Okay, so it goes something like this. My son, ask for thyself another kingdom, for that which I leave is too small for thee. It's a tough one.
It's a very tough one.
It's a tough one. But
So what's the song?
It's Alexander the Great by Iron Maiden. Epic.
Okay.
Epic. And they finally played it live after 40 years. This year, my friend went to watch them. I'm like,
And you missed it.
I missed it. I have to go see them again.
There you go. Fantastic.
So it's about creating a legacy.
You know that Bruce Dickinson's plane is registered in Malta?
Of course, yeah. He has an airline in Malta.
Of course.
Did you go to his talk?
No, I didn't.
Great book as well. What does this button do? He is the modern Renaissance man.
Fantastic. There you go. I need to borrow that book.
It's great. I'll give it to you. And it's about, the song is about creating a legacy for other people. So Philip of Macedon, creating a legacy for Alexander. But the legacy I created is too small for thee. So go and build your empire.
Patrick, I really do hope that you deliver on your purpose. I have full faith that you will. It's been inspiring listening to you today. And it's great to see how somebody's, an 11-year-old story has contributed so much into building such a powerful and important personal and business brand, which is really affecting positively the world of tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time. It's been really kind of you to be here.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.